Hi, welcome to our open house virtual style. I appreciate that you're able to take time learning about Logos and um, just being able to explore a little bit more what we offer and how we can support families as yourselves. My name is Brianne Finelli. I'm the elementary principal at Logos. I have had the privilege of working at Logos for the last 12 years, and I think wonderful, wonderful things about this school and our community and our teachers. And I'm super excited to just talk with you now as we look at some of the different aspects that in the ways we can support you. If you have specific thoughts, you need some feedback, you do have questions after the informational meeting or the open house meeting today, feel free to reach out to myself. It's bfinelli@logoscharter.com, or you can call the school, and I'm happy to talk with you a little bit more about your own circumstance. Okay, all right, here we go. So Logos Public Charter School, we have been partnering with families since 2010. We kind of like to give this picture here, if you will, of a triangle, just simply because we do want families to understand that it is a partnership, and it's an equal partnership in the sense that we are here as a support, as an asset. But parents are taking on a large portion of the responsibility with the students' needs. Whereas in a traditional brick and mortar, you would send your kiddos to school for the day, the teacher would do the majority of the instruction and then come home, and then you kind of wrap up with follow-up. It's a little bit different. We come in and we support you. You have access to a teacher at all times, but at the same time, the parents are doing the day-to-day instruction. And so I always like to kind of preface that right off the bat. And then student, this is a different model. So if they're not familiar with this, or they're coming from more of a traditional classroom setting, it can be a little bit of a shift. It can be a little bit of a change. And so, depending on their age, we always want to make sure that they fully understand what this looks like to do school at home. And that they're bought in and they're ready for that choice. Okay, we exist to support home-based learners and to provide academic enrichment. And I'm going to unpack that for you as we go on with this PowerPoint. You will see a ton of pictures, mostly elementary, just because I am an elementary teacher. And so it gives you a picture of some of the activities, some of the opportunities to explore learning in a different environment. I'm going to start with learning that is personalized. One of the very first things you'll do is be assigned to an ES, which is an educational specialist. They're a certified teacher, and they're going to want to meet with you. They will set up what we call an initial meeting, but it's just an opportunity to get to know you, get to know your family, your philosophy on education, your reasons for wanting to partner with this type of program. And then they'll also probably want to explore like your child's learning styles, or any of your interests in curriculum and things like that. They will also answer an abundance of questions for you, because I'm sure even after this presentation, you're going to have lots more. And so that's just kind of the opportunity of getting to know you. Then they're going to create a personalized plan. This personalized plan is going to include what you as a family and your child wants to do for each subject matter in terms of a curriculum or a learning program. And it can look very different. There's many options. And in fact, I think the longer I've been at Logos, the more and more choices there are, which can be kind of a catch-22. It's a great thing that now home-based learning, there's so many different modalities of learning and curriculum that can address different learning styles. However, it can be very, very, very overwhelming, especially if you are new to homeschooling. So I would my big piece of advice here is to just go middle of the road, if you will. Your ES will have a lot of suggestions for you. We have a catalog that you can look at in choosing a curriculum. But I just recommend that you kind of streamline that for your first year and just kind of stick with what you feel comfortable with and what you can manage with to begin with. There is curriculum that is textbook. There are a lot of other types of more hands-on exploratory styles of learning that we can get you. And there are some online, though I don't necessarily recommend online for all subjects, especially in elementary, but it can be very helpful and very useful depending on the child and what their needs are. And then we have campus classes, and campus classes aren't necessarily an end all be all. You wouldn't be able to take a campus class for, let's say, a science campus class and now not have to do science for the year, but it can be an enrichment and a supplement to what you might be doing at home as well. So that's something to keep on your radar. And then lastly, we have 2 SPED teachers on site, and they work with Medford School District to support our students with IEPs or 504 or speech. And so if your child already has an IEP, or it's something that you are wanting to pursue, then we have a team of professionals that can work with you with that area as well. Okay, opportunities that are capitalized. So this is where you come in and you are given an amount of educational units at the very beginning of the year. So we've broken it down for you depending on grade level. You can see kindergarten starts with 450, 1st through 5th grade is 600. And then into middle and high, it just continues to increase. And that the reasoning behind that is because now they're into high school specifically, they're going to be learning for credit. And so the curriculum gets more expensive. The amount of instruction increases. More often than not, they need to begin taking either campus classes or some online curriculum, and the cost of that goes up as well. So that's why we have incrementally increased the educational unit amount there. This is your total for the year. So at the beginning of the year, we actually only drop 2/3 of this amount into your student's account for use. It can be overwhelming. There are a ton of things that you could easily get or participate in, or classes that you could take. And it's real easy to just wipe that amount out right off the get-go. And so what we have seen occur sometimes is that families might get into February or March, and they either have finished their curriculum and it didn't quite take them through the year like they thought, or maybe they end up needing a supplemental piece to math or to reading or something like that, and then they've got no EUs. And so what we do is we drop 2/3, which is plenty to begin with to get you covered for your curriculum. And then in January, we drop the remaining 1/3, which just kind of frees you up of having to worry about running out across the year. And so then you'll have enough to take those Q3 and Q4 campus classes, or to get some of those extra curriculum workbooks, things like that, to get you through to the end of the year if you need it. You see that little phrase there, core before more. And it's kind of our mantra in the sense that it's very, very important that at the beginning of the year, we set you up with everything that you're going to need as far as curriculum and academics go first. We want to ensure that you've got all the books, all the supplies, everything that you might need, with the best of our ability to take you through the end of the year. Then your EUs can be used for a lot of those extracurricular things. Maybe it's PE, gymnastics, swimming, maybe it's music classes or music lessons, things like that, which can apply to some of those extracurricular expectations for school. Okay, here's our curriculum library. Amber Cox is our curriculum director. So when it comes to ordering, and you'll talk through this with your ES, we have 2 types of curriculum. The first we call consumable. This is the curriculum, you typically workbooks or school supplies or art supplies, maybe a map, things like that, you will not return to us. You'll use it, you'll rip it out if you need, you'll cut it out, all those kinds of fun interactive learning opportunities. Typically kinder through maybe third grade, most curriculum is consumable. It's easier to work through. It's easier to just pull out a worksheet, hand it to your kiddo that way. A lot more interactive learning. As you get older, maybe fourth, fifth grade, you might start seeing more textbook type curriculum, and that would be considered non-consumable. It'll have a barcode at the back. And those are what you will return at the end of the year. So just like in a brick and mortar school, your child would go to school at the beginning of the year, they would check out or a book to them, or they might have them kind of stacked in the back of the classroom, and they use those all year long. So it's the same thing with us. We're giving them to you to use for the year. And then at the end of the year, they come back because they belong to the school. So with that price, we used to have a new curriculum price and a used curriculum price. But currently we actually, for the most part, it's all used price. It's all one price for everyone, regardless if it's a brand new curriculum that we just needed to buy and purchase because we ran out and we needed to provide more for families, or if it's just one that was used last year and now we're renting it out again. One thing to note that and I mentioned this already, there's so many curriculum options out there that typically we have heard, we think of almost everything possible, but there's always new ones coming. So if you happen to have a curriculum and you've used it before, you've heard of it, and you're interested in us purchasing it, that's absolutely okay. We can do that. It just might not be in our system. And so in that case, that is the one time that we might charge a new price because we've never purchased it before. We don't have an affiliation with that company or anything like that. And so I just always like to preface those kinds of things. The other thing that's important to note is that we cannot use EUs for any kind of religious curriculum. You can use religious curriculum. We just cannot use EUs, which are public funds. You would need to pay out of pocket yourself. And that kind of leads me to that other option where sometimes if you're a family and you have multiple kiddos coming up in the ranks, sometimes it might just behoove you to purchase your curriculum on your own with your own funds, and then you do get to keep that curriculum. And so if you've got little bitties coming up and you want to use that for multiple years, then it's yours and you have the opportunity to do that, and you don't have to keep re-renting it each year for your next child. So that's another thought. For our returning families, this doesn't necessarily apply, but for you, if you were to start with us next year or even this year, one of the things to know is sometimes there's a bit of a gap, because for our returning students, we will order their curriculum in May. And then when they start in August, we've got it all set and ready to go. We get it to them and they're ready to start school at the end of August. That's not always the case with brand new families. There's a little bit of a lag. And so we've got to get you into the system. We've got to get all your information updated. The initial meetings have to happen, things like that. So there can be a week to 2 weeks of a gap. And so kind of the thought is, well, what do I do while I'm waiting for my curriculum? And I always like to recommend, first of all, we have starter curriculum, and it's like a little spiral workbook. We can get that to you right off the bat. It addresses the 4 cores. And so that's a good place to start. There's a ton of online programs that you could be using in the interim as well. Your teacher, if you ask them, we have 2 science, currently online science subscriptions through the school, and we can get you the links for those or the credentials for those, so you can get started on some of those science activities. Taking field trips, I really recommend that. It's a great opportunity because sometimes once you get in the groove with your curriculum, it's kind of the last thing, on the list to do. And so it's a good time to start. Just go, there's rock museum, go on a hike, do some nature journaling, things like that. So there's a lot of opportunities. We also have a very modest library, but going to the library and just getting some rich literature and doing a book report or something like that is a good place to start as far as just your wait time until you get your curriculum. Okay, a love for learning. So this is one of the things that we feel very strongly about, and makes a huge impact, is being able to offer relationships and peer connections at our school, and one just the opportunity to do workshops or campus classes, and that's being able to learn within a certain subject matter. Maybe it's an area your kid struggles with, maybe it's an area you struggle with teaching, and so it's a really nice opportunity to bring your kiddos to a school, give them a little bit of that experience, grow some of those social norms, that maybe they don't have as many opportunities to have, to be able to just kind of rub elbows with peers, learn in groups, things like that. So that's a really great asset, and it applies with the hard work that you might be doing at home, and then gives them an opportunity to come to more of it, into a setting where they can have those rich discussions with another teacher or with some peers. Teacher interactions, getting to have a teacher once a week for an hour, and just being able for that teacher to dive into personalized instruction exactly in the area that your child needs is huge. And it's all for them. They get that time. It's a wonderful opportunity as well if they've been struggling through the week in a certain topic area or a certain concept, to have it taught in a different way by a different person, be able to just support some of those areas where they just need a little bit more enrichment. Or maybe it's just you don't have time to do some of these really neat hands-on science experiments, and a teacher gets to come in and they can do that and provide that opportunity for your child. And then lastly is just the application of knowledge, is being able to make that connection between their book work or their schoolwork, and then going and applying it in another area, in another situation with, again, the kids that are their age, and being able to have those conversations is really a great way to just embed what they're learning and make it stick. All right, academic progress. So this is another thing that I always is important for me to address, because I just kind of want you to understand, well, how is that ES going to help me as a parent? I hear that they're going to be working with my kid for an hour a week, but how exactly are they going to support me? And so one of those ways is to ensure that you feel supported, and that your child is engaging in the daily subject specific curriculum. They're going to help you pace, because it's really important to be able to look at a curriculum and go, okay, how am I going to break this down to ensure that we're going to cover all the content that we need to cover by the end of the year, but also to not overwhelm them. And so pacing is a big piece, and making sure that your child is engaged and they're learning, and they're not struggling. And so that's an area your ES will helping you with daily schedules, if that's how you work better, or monthly schedules. The other one is just making sure that they're meeting content level standards. So we do use grade level standards for report cards, and I put a picture up there on the screen of what our grade level report cards look like. And so that's going to be a resource tool for you as well. So our teachers, they use that as they're going through the curriculum, and as they're assessing kind of where the areas that your kiddos are meeting, you're doing the day-to-day instruction, you will have that tool, and you will be able to say, okay, well, what are some of the anchor standards for language arts? What do I want to make sure that I'm covering as I'm, opening up and engaging in this literature text every day with my kiddo? And then the last one is to demonstrate understanding and competency when completing curriculum. And sometimes curriculum is hard, and learning is hard. It just is. And it doesn't matter what curriculum you have. It doesn't matter how many different ways you've explained it, what resources you've added to it. It's just hard. And so again, this is where your ES can come in and really help support you as a teacher / parent, and give some of those ideas, help with maybe lesson planning, bringing in additional exposure to content or lessons or learning that is hard to get just with first exposure. One of the things that I can't preface enough is it will be really easy as a homeschool parent to get into that checklist of the one and done. Well, we covered fractions, or we covered percentages, or we covered author's purpose. We've already done that. Well, some of these things, some of these concepts are hard, and it's going to take multiple exposure. It's going to take a kiddo engaging with that content day after day after day. And they might not just be one and done. It might not be enough to just see it once and then they've got it. And so by having a teacher who kind of gets that, they know those areas, they know those grade level struggles. And so they're going to be bringing in opportunities for your kid to engage in content that can be troubling or hard sometimes. And the catalog, so this is for you to look through. This is kind of our tried and true curriculum options where a lot of our families use the curriculum in this catalog. And it's not an end all be all. Again, there's so many choices out there, but this is just kind of a streamlined list. And then up in the right corner of my screen there, you'll see an elementary daily attendance. So we are responsible for taking daily attendance. Again, you only meet with your ES once a week for an hour, but they are responsible for ensuring that daily learning is happening. And so the best way we can do that is communicating with you as the learning coach or the parent and having you fill this out so that we can take attendance for them in that modality. So, you know, a lot of times if your kiddos are participating in campus classes, or if they have an online curriculum that they're using, that can serve as the daily attendance. But if you're doing just traditional bookwork every day, it's one of those things I just recommend you just kind of put up in your computer tab or have as a reminder on your phone, you know, every day, oh, fill out that daily attendance, and then just fill it out real quick and submit it. And then your ES can take care of attendance for you for that week. Okay, lastly is testing. For our goal here as far as academics go. And so I always like to mention, you know, that we are contracted. We are under the umbrella of Medford School District, and they are required. And so we are required to have a 95% participation rate with assessments. But I do like to unpack that a little bit for families and help explain kind of how we use assessments. The big one is iReady, and we use that at the beginning of the year. And that's kind of more of a formative assessment. So we use that to guide instruction. We use that to guide curriculum choice. And so at the very beginning of the year in the fall, your kiddos will take the iReady assessment in math and in reading. And it's going to be a really great tool. The report is very, very thorough. And it just gives you an opportunity so that when you get to some of these objectives or some of these concepts in your curriculum, you're going to be able to know, man, they were a high flyer in that area. We don't need to belabor this. We don't need to spend too much time on this curriculum per se. But let's say it's an area where maybe they scored a little bit lower. It just means they haven't had a ton of instruction in that area or exposure. That's just going to be kind of a tool for you and for your ES to know, hey, we need to slow down. We need to maybe make sure we go over this area or these learning contents a little bit more thoroughly at that point to enable to ensure that we're supporting them and that we're pacing with them the way they need. The others are Capit and Lexia. These are not necessarily assessments, but they are online supplements. Capit addresses phonemic awareness and early phonics. So it's geared more K2. Lexia addresses support in learning, reading struggles. Some of the others might be vocabulary and spelling. So this is geared a little bit more toward 3rd and 5th. And I wouldn't say it's a core curriculum, but used in coordination with some other tools can be a core curriculum. Lastly is Smarter Balance. It happens in the spring. It's 3rd through 5th grade, and it's math and it's ELA. And so this is more of a summative assessment. And the way we use Smarter Balance is really just to see, okay, how did all of this go for the year? How did the curriculum work? Maybe you guys had a balance between maybe doing some campus classes and some online, maybe it was at home. And so it's really just an opportunity, one, to celebrate what they learned and celebrate their growth. I always think that's a really great way to look at assessments in any form, but also to make sure that we are using the appropriate curriculum, that there aren't some concerns or some areas that we need to maybe switch up the next year. And so this is a really great tool to kind of guide that, so that we're not necessarily doing the same thing just because that's comfortable, but maybe we need to try something a little bit different. All right. Lastly here, and will be some years before you get here, but would be to graduate with an accredited diploma. We are an accredited school, and so that is always the goal, to be able to graduate with an accredited diploma. Around the time they get into 8th or 9th grade, they're going to be able to choose a pathway. And so these two pathways are Logos Scholars and Career Success. Logos Scholars would be more of your college minded kiddos. They're going to start maybe looking and exploring what they might want their majors to be, what local colleges are out there. They might even dabble in taking some college classes in high school. And then Career Success is the other one. So these are going to be more of your trade affiliated kiddos. They love working with their hands, or they just already know what they want to do as a career path. And so they just want to get into connecting with some community partners so that they can start working in a trade area. And so that's a really great opportunity for kids who are going to be able to graduate and already have landed in a business path. All right. I'm going to focus a little bit on this because these are some things that I think all of us can appreciate, helps life just in general, but these are some recommendations that our teachers have seen, some recommendations that when families have applied some of these practices, just that home-based learning is really fluid and it goes really well. And so one of those things is organization, establishing a schedule. It is so critical to establish a schedule. And it, to me, in my own opinion, and I think to our teachers, it's even more important that your student or your child knows what that schedule is. And it doesn't mean you can't tweak the schedule. It doesn't mean that you might not need to change it because now you're taking a campus class or now you're doing soccer practice at the end of the day. But it does mean that you have a plan set up. It's listed or it's written somewhere so that kiddos know already what their day is going to look like, and they can own it and they can participate in it and help be successful in it. Setting clear boundaries is establishing some school and learning opportunity boundaries in your home. And so first and foremost, that's setting an area in your home that is going to be a schooling or learning environment. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be in their bedroom. I'm just going to tell you that now. I also have homeschooled my kiddos, and I'm telling you that does not work well. That's their hangout space. That's their relax space. That's their play space. And it's going to constantly be contending if you're allowing that to happen. However, maybe it looks like a nice little corner in their room where there's a desk and their books are, and they move to that space. When I am dressed and ready and have eaten breakfast, I'm going to go there. Doesn't mean that's the only place they can work, but it does help ensure that there's kind of that mind switch and their readiness to learn now is impacted in a big way. The other is limiting technology and ensuring that you don't have the TV going and that you don't have an iPad sitting right in front of them that's calling to them, and that you've established kind of okay, school needs to happen first. Afternoon, after school's done, whether it's a specific time frame in your day, technology doesn't happen. As we all know, technology calls to them, and it can be really addicting, and it can be a challenge and a fight that just kind of wiggles its way in. And it can, I am all about music playing. I'm all about using technology as a reward if you would like. but just understanding that that's really important, that that's not there distracting them constantly. And then lastly, limiting negotiations. I'll be really honest with you. It's going to be hard already, just you contending with all the demands of life and home life. But it's really important that you have this dialogue established that school is valuable, school is a priority, and that it's not up for negotiation to do from day to day, and that it is what they're tasked with. Just like you're tasked with other things, they're tasked with school. And so, and to celebrate that and to recognize that that's a really rich asset and an opportunity that they're being given. But I'm telling you, if you begin to negotiate on how many math problems I have to do day to day, or do I really even have to do social studies? I don't like social studies. You are going to fry out by February or March, and it's just going to be really overwhelming. And so just being cautious and recognizing the importance of kind of that stick-to-itiveness and pressing in, in the hard moments. And that we're here for you. We're here to help you organize. We're here to help you pace. We're here to help you make a schedule if you need. And so I know it seems just like a drop in the bucket. 1 hour a week doesn't seem like a ton of time, but your ES and our school in general are here to help you get onto a really good track and just get started right and well. Okay. I'm excited to introduce you now to my teachers. So these are all of our elementary teachers. I think we've got 31 currently. They're all fabulous. They all have varying backgrounds. They all have varying strengths, which I love, because just like every kiddo on their caseload, each kiddo is unique and has unique learning styles and unique learning needs. And so these teachers get to address those, and I love it. They get to learn with them in a lot of different ways. A good handful of these teachers are the same teachers that will be teaching campus classes at our school. And so some are full-time, some are part-time. You are welcome to go online and read their bios. When you enroll, if you would like to request a teacher, you are absolutely welcome to. We can't always guarantee that we can accommodate the request, but we really do our best to try. And so my recommendation is to go online, look at the bio, see which of these ESs might suit you best. And so you're welcome to put a couple of names, first choice, second choice, down. This picture is our middle high school teachers. You won't necessarily interact with them quite as much until middle school. You might see them on campus because we do share a school, or field trips, things like that. But these are the faces that you will be seeing sooner than later, for sure. It happens so fast. All right, we're going to jump in now to some of these supplements we were talking about. So field trips. We offer 1 to 2 field trips a month in K5. Some of them are broken down by grade groupings. So it might not be a K5 field trip. It might sometimes be a K2 or a 3-5 field trip. We always try to align them academically and make sure that they are anchored to some academic standard. But the bigger piece for us is really that they're getting exposed to the community around them. So you can see here, we've had Bugs R Us, we've taken them to Harry and David, we've taken them down to Reading to go to a museum there, the farm, field trips there, cooking. We had some cooking classes locally that we offered for a period of time. So we really try to make sure that they have an opportunity to explore nature if we can, or just businesses and community partners around us. The next is campus classes. So campus classes for elementary happen on Monday and Friday. Typically Monday classes are our core classes, our core subject classes. So writing, reading, math. And then on Friday, we have more of our extracurricular classes. So music, Spanish, we have sewing class, which is super cool. art, things like that will happen. All of our classes are about an hour. There are a few that run a little longer, an hour and a half. And they are broken up in grade level groupings as well. And so you could potentially sign up your kiddo for 3 or 4 and have kind of a nice day worth of classes, but there's no guarantee. You know, a lot of times our classes fill up real fast. And so then your kiddo might be put on a wait list. So just keeping that in mind as far as scheduling and planning, that's really important to know. Our classes are also broken up by quarters. So we have 4 quarters in the year. It's typically 8 to 9 weeks in each quarter. And so we do that on purpose because it gives families and kiddos an opportunity to kind of engage and just experience a lot more of a variety of classes. And that way you're not having to commit so long. If you love it, you can take it again, quarter 2 or quarter 3. So most of the classes start around 10 and most classes have wrapped up and ended around, 3:30. And again, it's every hour. So then we'll rotate to another grouping of classes in the next hour and another grouping of classes in the next hour. Cost. On average, our classes run around $40 a quarter. Which is pretty good. Some classes a little bit more, like our sewing class or science or our art classes might be a little bit more than that, just because the supplies that are required for that class cost a little bit more. But on average, that's about how much you can expect. Clubs and social events. So we have some teacher-led clubs. We have some parent-student-led clubs. Our events coordinator offers some clubs like Social Club, which is a really cool K2 opportunity that we've just started in the last couple of years. We have a book club, kickball, like once a month now, garden club. So we have a lot of opportunities. And then outside of those, we have social events. So we try really hard to offer some just for fun. So, back to school party or end of the year party, winter party, right before winter break, Dr. Seuss, you saw a picture of that. So we just also try to interact, have fun, laugh, get to come to the school for something not academic. And then competition and workshops I want to mention. So competitions, if you've attended a public school, then you know there's typical or spelling bee, geography bee, battle of the books. Sometimes they'll do like a STEM fair or a science fair. We offer all of those same things. Some kids, that's just not where their wheelhouse is, but some kids really love it, and it really drives them and motivates them to kind of learn, and they love the opportunity to get to just show off what they have worked so hard for. Workshops are kind of immersion between maybe a club and a campus class, where if you can't commit to a campus class for that 8 to 9 weeks, we will offer workshops that are just a one and done, but it's like a 2 or a 3 hour workshop. So you get a little bit more content out of it. You get a little bit more instruction, but you don't have to commit to something so long like a campus class. And so we've had like Lego robotics workshops. We've had art workshops. We call them expressive art workshops. We've had like builders workshops. We've had a lot of different types of workshops. And so sometimes that's just a better fit for some families as well. And so we pepper those in throughout the year. And then lastly is service learning. As far as what we offer. So we have a Sparrow, and again, if you've been in a traditional school, that may sound familiar to you. So it's just a kiddo who has a medical need. And so it's an opportunity for us as a school to adopt them and to try to support their financial burden. And so kiddos will volunteer a number of different settings in order to be able to support that family. And so they can do that on their own. They can do that in their own community at their local church, but we also offer service opportunities. And so it might be, making cards. It might be picking up garbage or trash or at the local park. This year we did bags around winter break. to take to the local retirement homes, things like that. And so they have an opportunity to do some of these events to supports our Sparrow. And so those happen probably once a quarter, maybe once every semester. And then community partners. So these are the things we don't necessarily offer, but our community does. So anything regarding music, PE, any type of activity that you maybe are already participating in, on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and it can be used as your extracurricular, piano classes or lessons, anything like that, gymnastics, art, lessons, things like that, where the community, the business itself, instead of you paying for those services, we will use your EUs and we will pay the business directly. And so those are great opportunities too, to take care of your PE, technology, art, whatever else that maybe you're not doing at home as much. So, all right. And then here I want to just go over kind of what to expect if you're new to homeschooling. And so first is to expect to do 3 to 5 hours a day. So I always get this question, and it's really hard to give a definitive time frame for a daily school routine. It's somewhere between 3 and 5 hours. Again, it all depends on the kiddo. It depends on their grade level. It depends on how much you want to incorporate into your school day as well. So if you're talking a younger kiddo, it's probably closer to the 3-4 hour range. If you're talking an older 4th, 5th grader, it's probably should be up to the 5 hour range. But again, it just depends on how well that your child is sitting down and just attending to school, what you packing in for the day as far as maybe their PE, doing art, things like that. So the day might be a little longer on some days as well, but I always like to give families kind of an idea. Expect to need a routine or a daily schedule. We talked about that already, and we do have planners available for new families. So if you want that as a support, you want to sit down with your ES to kind of look over what a tentative schedule might be, we're always happy to do that with you. Expect to commit to a weekly meeting. So this is a big ticket, and I always like to spell this out in a different way. So, thinking, oh, well, I've got an ES and they're coming 1 hour a week, and it's fabulous. And I love that they get that one-on-one time. But also in the grand scheme of things, we have on average about 34 weeks of school. So even if you made all of your meetings, which we very, very much believe in, and we really need families to commit to doing, but again, an illness happens on occasion, emergency might happen on occasion, that would leave you 34 hours in the year to be able to see your ES or your teacher, and to make a really rich connection with them. And so it's really, it's so important to make sure that you're not scheduling dentist appointments, or that when you sit down to talk and pick that time with your ES, that it's not conflicting with soccer practice or anything like that. And so and if you're not able to make a meeting, we do have the opportunity to do makeup meetings. But again, your ES has a full schedule and they're meeting with 24 other kiddos. So they don't have a lot of flexibility to be able to, on the dime, always be readjusting that they're meeting with you. Expect to be challenged. A lot of this content maybe you haven't looked at in years, and especially as you get into the upper grade level. So don't be surprised. Don't get overwhelmed by it. Maybe math was hard for you. Maybe reading was hard for you, writing, and it's not in your wheelhouse, but just taking that challenge and knowing how fabulous it is to be able to sit down and just model learning practices with your kiddo is huge. And you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know all the things, but just getting to sit down and discover it together sometimes is such a rich experience. Expect it to be worth it. We obviously, I've started here and I haven't left because I just believe it's such a fabulous model. It's such a great opportunity to really be able to dive in and pour into your child and see what a holistic learner they become in an environment like this, because they've had adults and they've had rich opportunities that are personalized for their learning style. And they've been able to develop into kids and adults that are just ready to jump into society. And it's very, very neat to see. And so we as well are excited to partner with you in this way. Communication. So here are just some ways that you can get more information right now, or once you have enrolled and you are assigned to an ES, you will have access on a consistent basis to information. The school website is one. We have lots of information. We always have up-to-date events, activities, descriptions of what's happening at our school there. A school Facebook page, and we also have a Logos community Facebook page as well that you can participate in. So those are current. School newsletter, once you have enrolled, we will put you on our monthly school newsletter. And so all of the things happening within the elementary program will be put into these monthly newsletters with links to sign up for events, descriptions about events. So you should be always updated with things that are happening, along with your ES informing you of what's going on. We have a this week, next week that goes out to teachers, and they typically forward that on to their families. So there's lots of different ways to make sure that you're in the loop on all the things going on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end that. What I do want to just clarify real quick is what next. We do use virtual enrollment links. And so what that's going to look like for you is you'll just fill out the enrollment link for now. We will get you on the wait list. And then when you have been pulled off the wait list and assigned to an ES, we will call you ahead of time so that we can be sure to get all the additional paperwork of things, driver's license, birth certificates, immunization records, things like that. Again, feel free to reach out to me if you had some specific questions that didn't get answered and you would like to know a little bit more information. If you're like, you know what, I want to sit through this again and watch it, or if you want to come in person, you're welcome to come in person to another open house. We do a tour, a school tour in person open houses, and you're welcome to do that as well. You're welcome to call. I hope that this was helpful and that you kind of have a better idea of whether or not this is a fit for you. And again, I appreciate your time and I appreciate you investing in your kiddo, and I wish the very best.